Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And I did a video earlier this week in regards to Vinny Bonsignore, Raiders beat reporter, and he did a 53-man roster for the offensive side of the football. I broke it all down. If you want to go check out that video, it's on the channel. This video, I am breaking down some of the more interesting, some of the more major Raiders rumors from the 53-man article that Bonsignore put out on the defensive side of the football. Before I break all of this down, today's show is presented by Panda Supps, the #1 place where I get my protein, where I get my creatine, and you guys can get it there too. Go to pandasupps.com, use code Raiders for 20% off, and if anybody here spends over $125, free shipping, free creatine. You're welcome. Let's go to the first rumor here, and according to Bonsignore, he could see the Las Vegas Raiders cutting Leki Fotu. What's really important in terms of context of this video is the Raiders aren't going to cut Leki Fotu right now. They're not going to cut him today. It's more just basis off of which players are going to make the roster come August. I like doing these videos because I like to see where players are going, which players could potentially get cut, which guys are going to get to keep. So the Raiders, they signed Fotu this offseason to a one-year deal. Not very much, vet minimum, basically the $1.2 million. And according to Bonsignore, the players on the defensive line that end up making this squad, Wilkins, Butler, Hemingway, Jonnu Lalu, J.J. Pegues. The interesting one in there, though, was Zack Carter. In terms of why Bonsignore thought that Fotu was going to get cut and why he ended up keeping all these other players, here's the reason. The Raiders could have one of the NFL's most dangerous defensive lines, but so much depends on the group's health. Crosby looks ready to reclaim his status as one of the best defensive ends in the game. The Raiders could have a powerful 1-2 punch of the edge if Kuntz gets back to full strength. Wilkins is another potential difference maker, but it's unclear when he'll return. Butler is a solid starter. Wilson, Snowden, Lalu, and Carter provide depth. Hemingway, a 4th-round pick, and Pegues, a 6th-round pick, will try to find their ways to contribute as rookies. Now, I did want to do this one a little bit differently compared to the last video that I did. So in terms of, are the Las Vegas Raiders going to be cutting Leki Fotu? I'm going to give this one only one just win, babe, and I think there's a small shred of truth. I disagree with Bonsignore because I think that Fotu ends up making this squad. I'll be real. I think because of the uncertainty around Christian Wilkins, it's a big reason why Fotu makes it, because he was also getting starter reps at rookie minicamp because he's also one of the bigger defensive tackles that we have. We're looking for nose tackles. And if Wilkins is unable to go, our next biggest nose tackle that's got at least a little bit of familiarity in the NFL is Leki Fotu. And if the Raiders cut him, you save minimum $782K, and you end up eating $567K. That number is going to be very important here in just a little bit. If you want to become a smarter Raiders fan, I'll always say that we always are never afraid to have a bad time here on this show. But I guarantee it, if you watch this show for a week and you don't learn something, you're not paying attention. Make sure you're subscribed to become a smarter Raiders fan. I think we could all use some smarter Raiders fans in the world, right? Let's go to the next one here, and it's the Silver and Black are going to be keeping Zack Carter. So in my latest 53-man roster video that I did, I had the Silver and Black keeping Fotu and deciding to move on from Carter. I'll tell you this. I think Carter deserves a lot of credit. He had a good season last year for what the Raiders needed out of him. And when Wilkins went down, when a bunch of our players ended up going down on the defensive line, Carter was able to step up. Former 3rd-round pick for the Cincinnati Bengals in 2022. And I do know that this organization does like Carter. But to me, the only way that he's going to make this team and Fotu doesn't make the team is if we get news on Christian Wilkins that basically gives Pete Carroll and John Spytek no reservations at all that he's going to be on this squad. Because I do really, really think that the Raiders like Carter. It's just, when you look at defensive tackles that this team has, we have plenty of tweeners, and Carter's kind of that tweener at 290 pounds. So in terms of are the Raiders going to keep him or not, I do think that this one's 2 just win babies, and it's a coin flip. You can call it in the air. But the fact that the Raiders drafted 2 defensive tackles in Pegues and Hemingway, they're going to make the team over Carter. And the big difference maker, maybe it's not that big of a difference to some people, but I'll always look at the money because I think the money tells you a lot. And if the Raiders cut Carter, they save $1.1 million, and they don't have to eat anything. So if we're really splitting hairs here between Fotu and Carter, I think Fotu gives you that big defensive tackle that Carter unfortunately doesn't really give you. And because Carter is a little bit more of that tweener like Pegues, like a Hemingway, kind of honestly like a Tyree Wilson, a lot of the other defensive tackles we have on this team, I will keep Fotu because I think he helps you out more in that department. And then the money aspect side of it. All of those reasons why I do wonder if the Raiders end up keeping Carter, but here's the thing. If you told me at the end of August the silver and black keep Carter over Fotu, I'm going to say Wilkins was healthy, and the Raiders are also trying to go maybe with a little bit more of a youth movement. Now, this is going to be the pinned comment. You already know where I stand, but I don't want you to put LF because that's what I said. That's honestly super lame, and I expect more out of all y'all. So pick one to keep. Leki Fotu, type LF. ZC for Zack Carter. You're about to get hit with that YouTube ad break. Scroll on down, and damn it, answer this question. I am going to sit up here and I'm going to continue to say that I would keep Leki Fotu because it's more of a Raiders team need. I know he didn't put up the numbers that Carter did last season, but I need somebody that can eat double teams on that defensive line to free up Max, to free up Malcolm, to free up Tyree, to free up anybody else, because that's all Fotu's going to do, be a space eater. He's more of a space eater than Zack Carter. Let's go to the next one, and this is probably the biggest one from this show. The Raiders are going to be cutting Tommy Eichenberg. That is what is predicted by Mr. Bonsignore. And it's interesting because the Ohio State product, 5th-round pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, Tom Telesco, Antonio Pierce guy. And he has the Raiders keeping Jermaine Pratt, Landon Roberts, Devin White, Cody Lindenberg, and Amari Gaynor. Because I like Eichenberg, and I know this is a player that could also offer you some special teams ability, I think what's really unfortunate is Eichenberg can be a good football player on certain teams. And the reason why he didn't make the 53-man, according to Vinny, is because of this. The Raiders could keep between 4 to 6 linebackers. Special teams will play a role in determining who makes the team, especially with the NFL's new kickoff rules. Pratt, Robertson, White are a solid trio and should make up for the departures of Spillane and Diablo. Lindenberg, a rookie 7th-round pick, is a developmental project. So could the Raiders end up cutting Eichenberg? I'm going to give this one 3 just win babies, and I'm going to say that I think it's pretty likely. If you watch my latest 53-man, I didn't have Eichenberg on that team. I kept Amari Burney, and I said that Lindenberg was working as the linebacker behind a Landon Roberts, and Lindenberg they gave the green dot to during minicamp. That's a huge show of confidence because you don't give somebody the green dot at linebacker unless you think that they're actually up for the job. And because Pratt, because Roberts, because Lindenberg all kind of play that similar position of a guy like Eichenberg, it's unfortunate for him that the new regime is now this regime, but I do think that Eichenberg can make it in the NFL, and I think he will end up making it in the NFL. I just value players like Amari Gaynor a little bit more than I do Tommy Eichenberg based on the linebackers that we have on this squad. Coming up here, more Raiders roster rumors from Vinny B from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, and I'm going to be sitting up here breaking it all down. When I first started doing this show many years ago, it was these style of shows, seeing what other people are saying and giving my spin and giving my 2 cents on it around the silver and black. Before I get into more of those roster rumors, today's show is presented by Panda Sups, and I'm telling you, man, they're upping up their game. When I tell you these flavors that Panda just has that they're releasing, it's going to blow your freaking mind. Treat yourself to the same delicious, high-quality fuel you've been obsessed with. Now in faster-absorbing, ultra-lean formula that delivers maximum protein with macro-friendly flavor explosions, making it a total delight to hit your daily goals. So this new fuel, Isoprotein, is here in 3 amazing flavors. I'm sitting up here saying we got peanut butter cookies, chocolate brownie whip, toasted honey graham. And the best part about this protein is there's also like some chunks in the protein. So I'll be real with you. I've had every single kind of Panda protein besides this one. I have yet to find one that I don't love, and I am still trying to figure out if it's actually healthy for me because it tastes so good. You're like, there's no way it's actually good for me. But I have lost a lot of weight using Panda Sups, and Panda is honestly, it's also owned by a Raiders fan. So if you want to support a company that's also a diehard Raiders fan that's been a sponsor on the show for 4 or 5+ years, please go to pandasups.com, use code Raiders for 20% off, and if you spend over $125, free shipping, free creatine for U.S. domestic buyers. Let's go to the next rumor here from Vinny B. He has Eric Stokes and Darian Porter starting this upcoming season, and I don't know if this is going to surprise many people. He said that the Raiders may also keep 6 corners, though some of their safeties could fill in if need be, which I actually do really agree with that statement from Bonsignore. Watch out for a guy like Thomas Harper to really fill in. Porter is a 3rd-round rookie and appears to be on the fast track to a starting job. Bennett will have a say in that as the 2023 4th-round pick played well last year before going down with a shoulder injury. In terms of Stokes and Porter starting, I'm going to give this one to just win babies. But Mitch, you just said that shouldn't surprise you. I agree. It shouldn't surprise you if these are your top 2 starting cornerbacks on the day that I'm making this video in June. If these are our 2 starting corners, which is why it's 2 just win babies, that might change come August. And I say that because I am a believer in Ja'Cory and Bennett. I also know that the Raiders have been poking around, sniffing around for other cornerback help, and they brought in a guy like Shaquille Griffin. Do I think Griffin would start over Stokes Porter? No, I do not. But I also know that the Raiders have been poking around, and originally I had Jair Alexander on this list. He ended up signing a 1-year, $6 million deal with the Ravens, which I'll tell you this, I am shocked that the Baltimore Ravens got him for $6 million. I thought that was an absolute steal. But what about a guy like Rasul Douglas and Asante Samuel Jr., Stephone Gilmore, Kendall Fuller? Now, these are more outside corners. When I talk more about those inside guys, that's where I bring up a name like Mike Hilton. But if the Raiders go out and they get Gilmore, I think Gilmore's going to be the starter. If the Raiders go out and they get a guy like Rasul Douglas, I think Rasul Douglas might end up being a starter. So because the Raiders have been sniffing around at some talent, that's why I gave it 2 just win babies. But if the season started today, it would be Porter, it'd be Stokes. No doubt about it. So let's talk about Porter and Stokes here, because I think right now when you hear a lot of the reports coming out from OTAs, coming out from minicamp, it does sound like the position that is maybe the most worrisome for coaches is the cornerback room and the, we'll call it, defensive back group in general, which I can't say that I'm all that surprised. So based on the group that we have, what's your confidence level in this Raiders secondary? I want you to scale it from 1 to 10. 1, you're not confident at all. 10, it's the best secondary in the National Football League. I'll sit up here and I'll go, it's a 4, 5. I want to even be able to say it's a 6. So you know what? Let's make a decision, Mitch. Let's go with a 5. I have high hopes for Porter. I got some hopes for Stokes. I like Ja'Cory and Bennett if he's going to be healthy. That number, though, I actually think is a little bit higher because I believe in Pete Carroll. If Pete Carroll wasn't this team, I'd probably put it at a 2 or a 3. Let's go to the final rumor here on today's show, and it's that the Raiders are going to be keeping 5 safeties on their roster. The last 2 53-man roster videos that I did, I've had the Raiders keeping 4 safeties, and I've had the Raiders keeping 5 safeties. Bonsignore projects that Trey Taylor, Thomas Harper, Lonnie Johnson Jr., Jeremy Chin, and Paul Mao are going to end up making the squad. And when I went through and I looked at the 53-man for the defensive side of the football, in my opinion, Bonsignore decided to keep Trey Taylor over Tommy Eichenberg, which I'm not totally upset about it. I can make an argument for both ways. I'm not going to lie to you. To me, though, in terms of keeping 5 safeties, I'm going to give this one 2 just win babies, and it's going to be another coin flip for me because I can make an argument we could keep 4. We could also keep 5. I'm not sure if Trey Taylor is going to make this team, which honestly really sucks because I think Trey is such a stand-up dude, and if he gets the right opportunity, he's the type of player that you want to have in your locker room. He's the type of guy that, you're like, you really are truly rooting for. But because there's more talent at the free safety position on the open market, I do really only think that this Raiders team is going to end up keeping 4. Let's say they do keep 5. But if the Raiders go out and they sign, I think any of these names right here at safety, unfortunately, I just don't see how Trey Taylor ends up making the squad. The names that I would say are the most likely, watch out for a Quandre Diggs, his connection to Pete Carroll. Jalen Mills has a connection with a few Raiders front office members. Julian Blackmon would be the guy that I would target. Jordan Whitehead's got a connection with John Spytek. Marcus Williams played multiple years with Marcus Robinson, our Raiders cornerback coach. But number 1, Justin Simmons. If I was the Las Vegas Raiders, it'd be really difficult for me to not go out and get a guy like Justin Simmons, who also has a very interesting coaching connection with the Silver and Black.